What kind of gear did I use for 100 miles? Well, almost 100.
Ginger Runner.
What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner here for a very fun video. I don't actually do these very often. This might be the first time. Basically, after every big race that I run, the number one question I get from everybody is, what gear did I use? A couple of days ago, I attempted the Headlands 100-mile endurance run just outside of Mill Valley in the Marin Headlands. It was 100 miles, 23,000 feet of vert. If you haven't already, go check out my recap Ginger Runner Live episode where I kind of cover everything that happened during the race. It was a very special, very difficult, but highly introspective race for me. I learned a lot more about what my abilities are than I feel like I would have had I finished. Spoiler alert, I didn't quite finish, but I did get 62 plus miles with 15,000 vert, and that, in my opinion, is a really good time. All that being said, I know many of you go back and watch my race movies and analyze frame by frame, trying to figure out what gear I was wearing. I give you a lot of credit. That takes a lot of patience. And while there will be some sort of movie that comes from this race, I brought my camera along with me. We filmed some stuff. Don't worry about analyzing the frames. In this video, I'm going to break down every piece of gear that I used, head to toe, why I chose it, and did it work? Also, side note, there's certainly a school of thought that all you need to get through a 100-mile endurance race is a pair of shoes, an empty syrup bottle, some duct tape, a couple of beef sticks, and some luck. Well, let's be honest, I find myself reaching for a few more of those creature comforts and using opportunities like this to really test the gear that I've come to love. When running any race of any distance, whether it's 100 miles, 50 miles, 50K, anywhere in between or below, and you're choosing what gear to use, there's always a couple of questions that you need to answer for yourself. How far apart are the aid stations? How much time are you going to be spending out there alone? How long will I be without my crew or supplies that I need? What's the temperature? What's the weather going to be? Can I get away with just a couple of handhelds, or do I need a full pack to carry gear? What am I going to do for nutrition? Do I need extra layers? Am I going to be running through the night? Do I need good light? Answering those types of questions will help you determine what sorts of gear you might need for your next endurance event. And as always, if you want more information about any of the products I'm talking about today, there are links in the description. They're affiliate links that cost you nothing. They help the channel out. You don't have to click them, but they do help. So without further ado, let's talk about the gear that I use at the Headlands 100. Let's start with the clothes. For my shirt, I chose the Rabbit Strong Tee. One, I like the way it looks. I like the way it fits. Also, the mesh material is really lightweight. Because I knew it was going to be a warmer run, I needed it to feel cool on the skin. And one thing I really liked is, despite the fact that the shirt is a dark color, it never felt hot. While the day got hot, I was able to keep fairly cool in the shirt. I really like it. I like the material. It worked well. For my shorts, I chose the Janji AFO middle short. This is a surprise to me as well. There's not much as far as storage in these shorts, but because I was using a pack, I knew that I would only need maybe a pocket. This is also the new version, new material of the shorts that I had in my summer shorts showdown. It's a lighter material. These are incredibly comfortable. They really are similar to the North Face Better Than Naked shorts in that they're really, really light and stretchy, very durable. I really did love these shorts a lot. They work great. Moving down to my feet, injinjis. I have been using injinjis for years. Nearly every year of running since starting the Ginger Runner channel, I've been rocking the injinjis. I can't really get away from them. Despite the fact that I've tested numerous other brands of socks, for some reason, the toe socks work. Blister-wise, I did get a couple of blisters. I normally never get blisters. I have a feeling that it had something to do with some of the dry, gritty dirt that managed to get into my shoes, and a combination of shoe pressure, which I'll get to in my shoe choice a little bit later, that caused a bit of blistering along the pinky toe. Otherwise, they were non-problematic. Super pleased with how everything came out foot-wise with these injinjis. Up top on the dome to keep my head shaded was the Tiger Claw hat. Love these things. Gotta promote the race that we put on. I do like a good trucker, and this one's a good one. Ginger Runner wraps. So I used many of these throughout the day. During the heat, I would be able to dip these into cold water, douse it around my neck and on my arms. You want to keep that blood and circulation cool. And at night, I was able to use dry ones around the neck and keep my neck warm, keep it around my wrist the entire time. I have like a lot of these that I just use for various races and various things. They work great. You can clean them super easily. If you don't already have some, you can go get some at gingerrunnerstore.com. So that's it for the day, but once the sun set, I knew the temperatures were going to cool. There was going to be some fog rolling in. I knew I wanted a long sleeve shirt to replace the short sleeve. In comes the Lululemon Metal Vent Tech long sleeve shirt. It is extremely lightweight, very breathable fabric, so it works when the temperatures drop, but it also doesn't overheat you, and that's what I was worried about the most at night, because it never really got cold. Plus, I think it looks great, really comfortable long sleeve shirt. So that was pretty much it as far as apparel is concerned. I did make sure to pack backups of all of those items as well as a lightweight jacket in case rain or mist or anything started to become problematic. Never really had to change out of everything I just described. Moving on to the pack. So I did choose to run with the pack for this race. I saw a lot of people getting away with a handheld. One woman was running with just a simple soft flask. Cheers. For me, I knew I was going to be carrying more gear, more nutrition. I wasn't going to be seeing my crew as often, and as someone who prefers very specific types of foods in long endurance events like this, I couldn't necessarily rely on aid stations, so I wanted to carry a lot of my nutrition with me. That is why I chose the Salomon Advanced Skin 5-liter pack. This thing has just been great. I didn't actually run a lot with this before the race, but I have run with this model in previous years and other events, so it was a bit of a test for me to really see if it worked. I brought a backup pack just in case, but this one worked perfectly. What's great is it provides room for your soft flasks up front, huge storage pockets that just stretch and accommodate all of the nutrition, anything you might be carrying in addition to food. My cell phone in the back was able to carry my camera gear, emergency supplies. The pack worked great, obviously held up just fine. I never really had to take it off or adjust it. Once it was on and worked quite well. It also didn't retain a lot of heat, which I was really pleased with. Because the materials are so stretchy and so meshy, it kept the heat at bay, which was great. But of course, the next question is going to be, what did I keep inside of the pack? First, I carried 3 soft flasks, one for water, one for an electrolyte drink, and one for Coke should I need it later in the race. I did end up using it. It was great. Nutrition-wise, I was depending primarily on spring nutrition, canterbury, and speed nut varieties, getting me a majority of the calories that I needed with supplementing at aid stations. I was able to carry anywhere from 2 to 3 hours of nutrition at a time based off of when I would see my crew. It was really easy to just kind of focus on eating every 30 minutes or when hunger arose. As in any race, I love to carry ginger chews. These not only just dissolve in your mouth over a long period of time, but they sort of keep the stomach monsters at bay. I find myself eating a lot of them at Headlands. Squirrel's nut butter. So it's an anti-chafe cream, keeps all the parts lubed that needs to be lubed. I kept this in my pack, and the crew carried a larger stick that I could just apply as needed. But to be totally honest, one application before the race was enough to last the entire duration of my run, 62 plus miles, not a single chafing issue. Let this be a testament to the quality of the product. I was super happy with how it turned out. Slap some on your bits. Never leave home without it. Poles. These are Black Diamond Carbon Z poles. I didn't end up carrying them in my pack at all, but I did end up using them for probably the last half of my run out there. I've had these for years. They were a really good investment. While lots of people would say that the carbon is really fragile, and I've seen them break on multiple occasions, mine are holding up just fine. And in a situation like this where the race is non-technical, just a lot of vert, they are perfect. Always make sure that the race that you're running allows poles before you bring them out and use them. In this case, they were allowed. Also in the pack were some tech items, so I thought I'd cover the tech side of my Headlands 100, technically 62. First, the watch. I ended up choosing the Coros Apex. You may have seen my review of the Coros Vertex. I really liked that watch, but I wanted to get my hands on the Coros Apex and hopefully soon Apex Pro to determine if these lower price pointed watches from Coros can still hold up to the bigger bad boy, the Vertex. So this was kind of my ultimate test. Can this watch last for multiple hours on a trail, giving you good data throughout the entire duration? Super pleased. After 21 hours of running out there, a lot of the later hours of which were truly suffering, the watch just gave me good data throughout. Very accurate. I had 38% battery left at the end of that. I knew it could have gone a lot longer and not had to recharge at any point. Really, my biggest gripe with the watch, which I'll also cover in the future review of this product, was just the wrist-based heart rate monitor. It was completely unreliable. Otherwise, all of the other stats that I was getting on the watch in real time were great, and it gave me good peace of mind knowing that my watch wasn't gonna die halfway through a 100-miler. If you watched my race recap, you probably remember talking a lot about the early miles and some of the anxiety and stuff that I was dealing with during this race. I thought it would be a good idea to bring along headphones to listen to music, audiobooks, podcasts, whatever I needed to sort of distract my mind. I've done it in training and it's worked quite well. But I hate headphones that go in your ear. One, because I like to communicate with other trail runners on the trail if they're having a conversation, but also I need to be aware of my surroundings. So one thing that was really cool was the aftershokz headphones, which are bone conduction headphones. They don't actually go in the ear, they go right in front of the ear. They provide you with pretty decent audio and they last 6 hours-ish. I've gotten just under that in my review cycle with these headphones. These will also be in a future review, but so far they worked great. One of the problems I found was just the fact that they are pretty cumbersome. There wasn't really a good place in the pack to put them when I wasn't using them. And these, in combination with sunglasses and hat, definitely led to some ear fatigue. So overall, really pleased and got some good listening out there on the trails with bone conduction headphones from Aftershokz. These are the Trekz Air. Later in the day, you're required to be carrying a headlamp, obviously, as day transitions to night. So in the pack, I shoved this new doodad from ultraspire. It's the Lumen 600 3.0. It's a waist belt light. While I've relied a lot on headlamps in the past, or even the Kogala LED strip, this was a first waist belt based light for me, and I was really skeptical at first, thinking that the light would bounce around. Just the materials they're using for the belt material, nothing really stood out to me as being quality or would last a long time, but I am incredibly pleased with this light. It is so damn bright and lasts a decent amount of time that I found myself just turning my headlamp off. It was almost more cumbersome to carry a headlamp on my head rather than just this around the waist, because it is just that bright. Multiple brightness settings and a battery based off of what brightness setting you're using can last many, many hours. I actually ended up carrying a backup battery just in case. I had no problems with the single battery using the waist belt throughout the night. It's awesome. But almost as a backup to the belt, I was using my old petzl now, which is a fantastic headlamp. It does get a bit weighty and doesn't work well with hats. So I ended up just finding myself not using this at all and sticking strictly to the belt, which is really cool. Future review indeed. And finally in my pack, tech-wise, I was carrying around the DJI Osmo Action, primarily using this now instead of the GoPro because it shoots 4K 60 frames. The color profile is easier to work with than GoPro, but sometimes the footage is just not that great. The image stabilization that they use within camera is helpful. Appearance-wise, it's pretty equal to the GoPro, but this mixed with the telescoping selfie stick make for a pretty good combo that you can bring out onto the trail and shoot multiple shots, multiple angles, as you can tell in this footage. So beautifully shot by yours truly. Again, we hope to make some sort of movie out of this whole thing. A lot of the footage you'll see will probably come from this. So that is what I carried in my pack, but I know the moment that you've all been waiting for. What shoes did I run in? I'll make it easy. There were two. I started the race in the Hoka One Evo speedgoats. I pretty much ran in these once before the race. I already loved the speedgoats. I thought they worked really well in a lot of races that I've run before. These with their new redesigned vamp, which is very similar to the Evo Mafate 2 that I talked about in a review a while back, worked quite well. They're very lightweight, they're very cushioned, they did exactly what I needed them to do. Until they started getting a little bit tight, which I talked about earlier with the socks. I noticed that the upper was making my pinky toe less than happy. So I brought a backup, knowing that if these shoes didn't work out, I need something with a bit more volume. Can you guess what I brought? The Altra Olympus 3.5. This shoe became my favorite savior. At about the 50K mark, I decided to opt out of the Evo Speedgoats and switch into the Olympus, and I'm really happy that I did. Any of the foot problems that I had earlier on were immediately solved. My toes had room to splay, my foot swelling allowed the shoes to fit just right. Really only downside is every downside I have with Ultra shoes, which is that ankle collar being a bit wider, more skater shoe-like, allowed some dirt and dust to get in there, which ended up causing some heel blisterage, but I'll forgive them because the shoes worked out just fine, giving me plenty of cushion, plenty of grip, plenty of joy for those lighter miles. These were the shoes I used for Headlands 100, and I'm very happy that I chose what I chose. So that is a list of the gear that I chose to use at the Headlands 100, aka 62. One thing I really love about races is that I do get to sort of choose what gear I use and put it really to the test to see how it holds up in a race environment. Granted, I'm not fast. In this case, I didn't even get the race done, but I certainly learned what works and truly test the gear that you spend all of your hard-earned dollars on. I also want to give a big shout out to the Headlands 100 race for hooking every runner up who ran the 100 miler with one of the sickest swag bags ever. So not only did you get a hoodie and a t-shirt and some really cool swag, you got one of these. This is a Victory Design sports bag, drop bag. This is called the Bear 3. But essentially it's a zip out, put your nutrition, shoes, bottles, whatever you need to crew. You stick it in this bag, you can carry it wherever you want, you can give it to your crew, you can stick it in the back of your car, whatever. It's a fantastic bag, very durable, and you get one of these, even if you don't finish. So this was cool. This is actually what my crew used at Headland to just keep my nutrition and a lot of various other bits that I might needed access to throughout the day. They just kept it in here and brought it aid station to aid station. So shout out to Victory Design. Really appreciate this as a piece of kit that you get for signing up. So that wraps up my breakdown of what gear I wore at Headlands. I'm really curious if you're running hundreds these days, or any ultras, or any distance really. Do you have a system that you follow? Is there gear that is your guaranteed go-to every single race? Do you have a favorite piece of gear? Let us know in the comments of this video. And I also just want to know, was this helpful? Do you like to see what I use in a race environment in a video format like this? It's new. I haven't done it really before. There's just so much gear that goes into running 100 miles or any ultra really, and it's always so fun that I just thought it would be really cool to break it down. So that's it. Again, there are links in this description that kind of take you to each of the items. Feel free to click them. They're affiliate links. It helps us out. Otherwise, you got all these social media links there. It'll take you to other places where you can find more Ginger Runner content. And of course, at the bottom there, that is how you support the channel and also join our GR crew. Patreon.com/thegingerrunner. For as little as $1 a month, you get cool perks on the back end, and you get some advanced notice of things like films. For example, the Headlands 100 film, whenever that drops. Okay, that's it. Thank you, everyone. I hope you're getting out there training hard, racing harder, and partying the hardest. I know I am. I now have the itch. I can't wait to get back to this thing. Now, what should I race next?